The ballroom of the New York Metropolitan Hotel glittered beneath towering chandeliers as the city's wealthiest gathered for the annual Hale Foundation Gala. Billionaire Richard Hale, 42, known for his sharp mind and colder heart, stood before the press announcing a new charity fund meant to rebuild community hospitals. His poised smile and tailored suit hid the exhaustion in his eyes. Across the room, Emily Carter, a 30-year-old waitress working a double shift, carefully balanced a tray of champagne glasses. Her brother's hospital bills were overdue, and this job was her only lifeline. As she moved through the elegant crowd, her eyes met Richard's for a brief second, two worlds colliding in silence. He nodded faintly before turning to the microphone. "Tonight we build hope," he began, but his voice cracked mid-sentence. His hand trembled, face turning pale. In a single, horrifying moment, Richard collapsed to the marble floor. The crowd gasped, frozen in disbelief. Security shouted for a medic, but no one moved. Emily's instincts kicked in. Without thinking, she dropped her tray and ran toward him, pushing past stunned guests. Kneeling beside the fallen billionaire, she pressed her fingers to his neck, praying for a pulse as panic filled the air. Emily's hands shook as she pressed two fingers to Richard's neck. His pulse was faint, too faint. "He's not breathing!" she cried, her voice cutting through the chaos. Dozens of guests stood frozen, staring but doing nothing. Ignoring their silence, she tilted his head back and began chest compressions, counting under her breath. Sweat beaded her forehead as she fought to keep him alive. A security guard reached for her arm, muttering about protocol, but she snapped, "I'm trained, let me help." Cameras flashed around her, capturing every moment, but Emily didn't care. After several desperate rounds, Richard gasped suddenly, his body jolting slightly. Relief washed over her as he coughed weakly, air returning to his lungs. Applause rippled through the room, mixed with shouts for paramedics. When the medics arrived, Emily stepped back, her uniform stained and trembling from adrenaline. They lifted Richard onto a stretcher, his eyes opening just enough to meet hers. He mouthed something, "Thank you." Hours later, while social media hailed her as a hero, her manager reprimanded her for causing a spectacle. Emily left quietly, tears burning her eyes. She thought the night was over, but the next morning, a sleek black car stopped outside her apartment with a letter bearing Richard Hale's name. Emily unfolded the letter with trembling hands. The handwriting was elegant yet unsteady. Richard Hale wanted to meet her privately once he was discharged from the hospital. At first, she hesitated. What could a billionaire possibly want from a waitress? But curiosity and a quiet sense of closure led her to his penthouse a week later. The view was breathtaking, yet Richard himself looked pale and fragile, a shadow of the powerful man she had seen collapse. "You saved my life," he said softly, his voice stripped of arrogance. Emily smiled nervously, insisting she had only done what anyone should have done, but he shook his head. "No one else moved. Only you did." He had watched the security footage repeatedly, haunted by how the crowd froze. As they spoke, he learned about her struggles, her brother's illness, her abandoned nursing studies, her endless shifts to stay afloat. Something in her honesty disarmed him. "Let me help," he said quietly, promising to fund her education and pay for her brother's treatment in full. Emily was speechless. For the first time, she saw not a billionaire, but a man burdened by loneliness, and Richard, for months past, and Emily's world transformed. With Richard's help, she re-enrolled in nursing school and completed her degree with top honors. Her brother recovered fully, his laughter filling their small apartment once again. Richard visited often, not as a billionaire, but as a friend, sometimes bringing coffee to her late shifts, sometimes just sitting quietly while she studied. Their connection grew naturally, grounded in gratitude and trust. He began funding medical programs in underprivileged areas, always crediting Emily for inspiring the change. 1 year later, at the same Metropolitan Hotel, Richard returned to the stage, stronger, calmer, different. Emily stood beside him in an elegant blue dress, no longer a waitress, but a nurse who had saved hundreds of lives. The audience listened as Richard's voice carried through the hall. "Last year I nearly lost my life," he said, pausing to look at her. "But I found something far more valuable: compassion." The crowd rose in applause, some recognizing the woman who once rushed through them to save him. As the lights shimmered, Richard took Emily's hand, their smiles genuine and unguarded. In that moment, they both knew their lives had been rewritten forever, proof that courage, even from the humblest soul, could change everything. The first time felt truly seen by someone with no agenda.